Hello and welcome to the editorial analysis of The Hindu. Today we shall be discussing the editorial of the 5th of March. So coming to the first article, Solar Powerhouse. Now the context here is that the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has approved the phase 2 of grid connected rooftop solar program, and the focus now is on the residential sector. Now, by grid connected rooftop solar program, we mean that we will have solar panels that will be deployed on the rooftop of residential buildings, and these panels will generate solar electricity, and this electricity is what is going to get connected to the main grid of electricity distribution network of India. So that is the context. Now this article is very important because solar energy is something that is vital for us. It becomes important from economic perspective. Also, it becomes important from the environment perspective because you should know that India is aiming to reduce its dependence on coal-based electricity generation. So from that context also, solar power is what is vital for us. Now some issues are what have been discussed. Coming to the first issue. Now this is about the ambitious target. Now what is important is that the target of rooftop solar capacity is what has been discussed. Now according to the editorial, India aims to generate 40 gigawatt of solar power through rooftop solar capacity. So that is something that is important, and this is something that is to be done by the year 2022. But the issue is that the progress amongst industries and commercial consumers is something that has been good, but uptake amongst residential consumers has been slow. So even though rooftop solar panels are incorporated in bigger companies and bigger commercial houses, but at present the growth in residential sector is what is slow. So that is what has been given here. Next, what has been analyzed here is with regards to the lack of information. Now the editorial rightly says that at present there is a lot of lack of information vis-a-vis solar panels and solar energy, especially in the residential area, making residential solar electricity grow comparatively slower than what it is expected. Now this was also noticed by a 2018 study that was done by World Resource Institute in 5 cities. These cities are Chandigarh, Chennai, Jaipur, Nagpur, Bengaluru. So in these cities a study was done, and it was in this study that it was underlined that there is a lack of information that residences have. Also, people do not know that who are they supposed to contact, what are the process that they are supposed to follow. So there's a lot of lack of clarity vis-a-vis these basic information. So that is something that has been highlighted here. Next, what has been discussed is the need of a single window source. Now, a single window source is what is required first and foremost to disseminate information, to help evaluate the benefits and disadvantages, especially for the customers. Also, it is vital that so that customers know about the government support in the form of subsidies that are available. Also, what is important here is the importance of face-to-face discussions. Now, people largely, whenever they want to inquire about solar power schemes in India, they Google, they go on the internet. But this is no replacement for the face-to-face discussions and the recommendations that can come to people from neighbors and relatives. So that is something that has been discussed here. Next, what has been discussed here is the technical information. Now, some technical information is also what is going to be required by the people. For example, they will need to know that what is the shadow-free roof area that is needed for generating a unit of electricity, what is the pricing, what is the operating system, what is about the after-sales maintenance and support, and also they would like to know about reliable rooftop solar vendors. So all this technical information is also that is the responsibility of the government to disseminate, and that is what has been highlighted here. Next, what has been discussed here is with regards to the role of field employees. Now, this is one of the most important analysis. What is important here is that the local electricity linesmen and electricity inspectors and other nodal officers in the electricity department have a key role to play. It is vital in this interest that their capacities are something that are also enhanced. Their behavior towards the consumers is something that is improved, and this can be done by giving them appropriate training vis-a-vis billing and metering for solar power. And this is something that can go a long way in improving the consumer's experience, is what has been highlighted vis-a-vis the role of field employees. So this is one important analysis. Next, what has been discussed in the editorial is with regards to the awareness drives. Now, several drives are something that are required in India, and these drives awareness drives should be in the local languages. An idea of some information kiosks, especially in the banks and other public utility organizations. In these organizations, there should be these information kiosks vis-a-vis solar power is what has been suggested. Also, the government should focus on robust feedback mechanism for consumers so that any issue that the consumers are facing, they can give a feedback vis-a-vis that, and also on this platform they can share their experiences. Campaigns and workshops by consumer right groups, vendors, resident welfare associations is what has been suggested as a part of the awareness drive. So that is one important analysis. Next, what has been discussed here is the issue of loss of revenue. Now, the editorial is saying that these rooftop solar panels, especially in the residential sector, is going to be in the higher disposable income group. This is because this is going to require one's own house and a bigger house to install such kind of solar panels. So what is being feared by the electricity department is that it could result in a revenue loss, because this high-end disposable income group is going to go into shift, or might make a shift towards using solar power, which might cause a cut in the revenue for the electricity department. But this is a baseless fear that is being generated, because this is going to be added to the national income, to the national wealth in the form of solar power. So that is what has been highlighted here. Next, what is important is the idea of making solar power socially inclusive. Now, as I mentioned, that there is a tendency that these solar panels will largely go towards bigger families, or for that matter bigger homes, but what is required is that this should be a socially inclusive project for it to be completely successful. And for this, what is going to be important is that solar power be made affordable, it be made accessible to all in India, information and awareness in this regard be given to everybody, so that this huge target of solar power, which is the modern energy, be achieved in India. So that is the entire analysis of this editorial. As I mentioned, this is one of the most important editorials of today's discussion. Next is the topic of alarming spread. Now, this editorial is context with regards to the rise in the number of influenza cases that have happened in India. Not only there is a rise in the number of influenza cases, also deaths due to influenza is something that have risen. A figure is what has been given. The cases are to the tune of 14,803 influenza cases have been reported, and deaths are 448 deaths. Some data vis-a-vis states is what has been given. Rajasthan has the maximum number of cases, followed by Delhi, followed by Gujarat, then followed by Uttar Pradesh. This is something as a part of basic information vis-a-vis this editorial that has been given. Some issues which have been discussed are first and foremost about H1N1 virus. Now, this virus, which is known as the influenza virus, which is a type of influenza virus, is also known as the swine flu virus. It is known as swine flu because in the past, this disease is what used to happen to people who were near pigs. But that is something that has changed now. It is rather happening to everybody. This is something that you need to know. Another thing that is important that you need to know vis-a-vis swine flu virus is that in the year 2009, there was a pandemic of this particular virus. And since 2009, this has largely become a seasonal flu which occurs almost every year. So that is something that you need to know. Next, what has been discussed here is vis-a-vis the preparedness and actions taken. Now, the preparedness is already weak, which is clearly reflected in the cases of influenza that have happened and the deaths which have happened. Also, criticism is what is drawn towards the actions that the government has taken in the aftermath of this particular episode. This has been the action that the government has taken is weak, and no special effort is what has been taken by the government to curb the spread of these cases is what has been highlighted in the editorial. Next, what has been discussed here is with regards to the vaccination. You should know that H1N1 is treatable. There is a vaccine for this. Now, here the editorial is saying that the government has recommended for a vaccination for all the health workers, and it has stated that it is only desirable for people greater than 65 years of age and for children. You should know that the tendency of getting influenza virus is more in this particular age group. Also, it is more in pregnant women. So the government has only made it desirable for this group is something that has been criticized. It is not mandatory. And that is what has been highlighted. Another thing that has been criticized is that it is accepted by the government that influenza cases are on a rise in pre-existing chronic diseases. For instance, a chronic disease like hypertension or diabetes, in such cases, there is a rise, there are higher chances of getting an influenza infection. So the government should take some precautionary measures and it should call for vaccination of these groups. But clearly, that is something that has not happened, and that is what has been criticized. Next, what has been discussed here is with regards to precautionary measures. Now, some precautionary measures are very much there which should be made a part of the awareness campaigns by the government. This includes habits like frequent hand washing and cough etiquettes to be practiced by people, as this virus can spread from one to another, and that is what has been highlighted here. What is going to be important for us is to know about H1N1. It being a virus, it is treated. its symptoms. Symptoms are the normal coughs and influenza symptoms, flu symptoms, which is running nose, fever, headache, malaise. These are the symptoms of this particular virus. This virus becomes important because it has suddenly shown a spurt in the number of influenza cases and deaths. So that is what is making it important. It can be an important issue for analysis in the health sector. In GS paper 3, a question can be asked in that regard. So that is going to be the relevance. Coming to the next article, the language of Pakistan. Now, I have included this article only for one point. This article is largely a political criticism and it's very, very political in its undertone. So we don't have any relevant issues that can be discussed except one. And this issue is with regards to the former Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee's Kashmir policy, which has been highlighted here. Now, the Kashmir policy that was followed by Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee was largely one of the most successful Kashmir policy, as has been called out by experts. And this policy consisted of three components. The first component was about empowering regional mainstream parties. The second component was about engaging with separatist leaders, and the third was about involving Pakistan. Now, this has been context in regards to the fact that this policy is something that has been uprooted by the present government. The present government is not interested in empowering regional mainstream parties. Rather, there is a crackdown upon these parties. It has not engaged with separatists. Even in the aftermath of Pulwama attacks, we had criticized that it was first to withdraw security that was given to separatist leaders, which was without any grounds of their involvement in the Pulwama attack. So that was one criticism. And also the government is not involving Pakistan. So this is something that is the only important aspect of this particular editorial. And that's all for today's discussion. I thank you all for watching the video.